Hey and welcome to episode 2 of Easy Ed. My name is Mel. Thanks ever so much for joining me today. If you may not be aware, Easiring is a hair extension tool that I invented many years ago, which is right here. This bad boy allows a full head installation to be completed safely 5 times faster than the standard method. So currently it can take up to about 2, maybe sometimes 3 hours to do a full head installation. This beauty will allow you to do it in as little as 30 minutes with our online tuition. So that is the end of that. And today, guys, I wanted to speak to you about how much do I charge my clients. As you may be aware, I've been a hair extensionist for many years, specialising in 37, and yes, believe me, there are 37 of the most popular hair extension techniques. Having run my own training school for many, many years, one question that always kept coming up after training was, how much should I charge my clients for a head of extensions? And I'm not just referring to the micro rings here. It could be the tape, celeb weave, hot and cold fusion bonds, etc. A lot of people have got this fixation on what everybody else is doing on Instagram, and one of the feedback that I often get is, well, so and so's charging so and so, and look at how well they're doing all over Instagram. They're posting all the time, and they're really successful, and blah, 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 blah. What the eye see, the mind believes, okay? We used to say to our students, after you've passed, what you need to do is get a load of models in, because people resonate and are drawn to pictures. So we say get 5 models with 5 different tops, okay? Style the hair in different styles. So you might have half up, half down. You might have it full straight. You might have it wavy. You might have it curly. But for every image, get them to change the top and change the background as well. That will always look like a different person, unless they've got a standard tattoo or something that's going to identify them. Your end user client is never going to know, if you're taking back of the headshots, if that's the same person or not. Little tip there for you. So off of just one person, you can get 5 pictures, 25 pictures on one day session, just by taking photos of them. Put that on Instagram and suddenly you look like the boss. So again, it doesn't necessarily mean that just because they're banging out 1 million pictures every week, that is a true reflection of how their business is doing. I often used to have students say, well, I'm going to put an offer out, Mel. I'm gonna put an offer out, and I'm gonna let them bring their own hair, and I could have slapped them right there. Our syllabus is deep. We spent years traveling the globe in order to bring you a really tight syllabus that talks about the donation of hair, the ethical donation of hair, how cuticles fall when it's taken from the donor, how it's scooped up and then made into wefts, with some of the cuticles facing up and some of them are facing down, and then they intermingle together in the bush, and then people can't understand why the hair's bushing. It's because, you stand in the shop and you're like, oh my gosh, my hair feels absolutely amazing. But it's like, yeah, but it's actually the silicone coating that you're feeling on top of the hair that's been put on there to protect it. And I could go deep. I can go on and on and on. I won't totally expose the syllabus. But what I'm getting to is it's really in depth, and nothing boils my piddle more than students then taking that, knowing that information, knowing that knowledge, and then seeing what others are doing on social media, and then forgetting everything they've been taught, and then going back to factory settings and saying, well, they do Russian hair. And I'm like, babes, that hair is about as Russian as I am. I ain't Russian. Okay. Where has this need to go out there and bang an offer out come from? What it's doing is, from the outset, it's devaluing yourself, it's devaluing your skill set, and it's devaluing your worth. At Easiring, we will never accredit you until you are up to a certain standard. There have been many occasions where I had my training school whereby I couldn't accredit students because the work just wasn't up to speed, and we would never offer a guaranteed pass. And I've got another video coming on my beef on academies who offer guaranteed passes on students who've never done hair before, who they've never seen before, who can't even hold a comb before. But that's a different video for another day. We need to look at your worth and your value. A lot of students may come from college or hair and beauty college, hair and beauty school, hairdressing as an apprentice, and go straight into extensions and expect to make £1 million overnight. It just ain't gonna happen. When I see advertisements which speaks of make 6 figures in 9 minutes by fitting micro rings, you think, oh, shut up, man, what are you talking about? Because what a lot of people fail to have is that business acumen. I used to always encourage my students, right now you know how to fit extensions to a high standard. I now need you to go out there and learn how to run a business. Learn the key fundamentals of entrepreneurship, or at least the basics of how to run a business, how to price yourself, and how to manage those expectations as well. Students often used to come to me or any of my tutors and say, well, I've done 6 Instagram posts, but nobody's buying from me. And you're like, oh, because there's so much more to running a business than putting out a few sodding Instagram pictures and expecting to bring in a load of revenue. It's just not going to happen. There's a process that needs to take place, and a lot of people tend to forget that the Instagram images are often a byproduct of the work that you don't see that goes on behind the scenes. People don't see the podcasts, the study, the night classes, the marketing classes, the accreditations, and the learnings that go on behind the scenes about how to use social media. All they see is posts going out, and therefore you think that you should be pricing in accordance to them. How long does it take you to fit a full head of hair extensions? What type of extensionist do you want to become? Are you going to be cheap and cheerful, knocking out offers every left, right and centre? Bring your own eBay hair, bring your own Amazon hair, and I'll have a go at fitting it? Is that what kind of extensionist you want to be? Or do you want to be elite, using only the best grades of Remy human hair extensions? I know many extensionists in the game who have got absolutely horrific reputations. They are horrible, but yet people only return back to them because the hair's an outstanding quality. The installations are just backwards, man. I don't even know how they're even still in business, but they are, because they have absolutely sterling hair. So sometimes clients ain't even bothered about what's going on behind the scenes under here, but as long as it's beautiful and it's flowing out here, they're cool with it. And they're not the kind of extensionists we want to be breeding at Easiring. Just because somebody claims to be an extensionist, we want to know, right, okay, so how many heads are you actually fitting? Are you doing 1 a month? Are you doing 5 a day? When I was doing extensions, when I kind of got good and had a few methods under my belt, maybe when I had about 4 or 5 different techniques under my belt, I'd be bashing out 4 or 5 a day. In my hair day, over Christmas, in that, you know, mid-December kind of realm, I'll be doing maybe 6, 7 installations a day plus maintenances. I'm surprised I've even got a family left, because I'd just come back home and I'd be like, bleh, can't speak, no words. I'd just be absolutely shot to shizzle, because I would absolutely graft my backside off. So I used to class myself as an extensionist. Don't do it anymore. Not got my hand in it as much as I did. Chuffing numbers. I've got rheumatoid arthritis. That's some sort of that. But what I am saying is, you know, just because they claim to be extensionists, I want to know how many they've done. Are you accredited? If so, by who? Is it a established training school with a good reputation? Or is it Sally in Merseyside? No offence to anyone in Sally, called Sally in Merseyside, that's doing hair extension courses for 70 quid from the kitchen, but they are going on out there. How are they taught? What's their knowledge like? What's the end product like? I'm not talking about what's going on here. I'm talking about what's going on under the root. If I separated the section and lifted up the hair, what am I going to see? Am I going to see nice parallel straight lines with adequate drop, with nice movement and freedom and flexibility? Or am I going to see a nice higgledy-piggledy mess with no sectioning and they're just kind of like dotted here and there? If you're wearing extensions that look like that, take them out, sack off your extensionist and go find somebody who knows what they're doing, because you'll only end up bald with time. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. All right. How many do you want to be doing in a day? And let's sit down, let's get a pen and paper, let's pour a glass of wine and answer some questions. How many fittings do you want to be doing a day? How many methods are you going to be under your belt? Extensionists who've only got one technique under the belt, what? How? Not every head is suitable for micro rings. I might be the queen of Easiring and the ambassador for micro ring hair extensions, but I ain't stupid enough to know that every head ain't suitable for micro rings. What if your client's got an allergic reaction to cheap jewellery? What if she wore zinc rings before, but these rings are copper and they end up having an outbreak? What if they're one out of 10,000 people who've got an allergic reaction to the liquid keratin? What if they can't wear tapes because their hair's too thin? One cap doesn't fit all, so therefore you do need to be offering more than one technique in order to serve a multitude of different types of people. When you're looking at competition and you start to crap yourself because you think they're better than you are they doing 5 or are they doing 15? What's the reputation like? Do they do a client consultation? And what did that client consultation involve? Will it just sit in the chair and do a colour match? That ain't no consultation. I want to know about your life. I want to know about your lifestyle. I want to know about how many children you've got. I want to know about how much you make. And not necessarily to the T, I make £1,000 a month, but I need to know that anybody that I was bringing in for micro rings could realistically afford the maintenance costs of 90 quid every 6 weeks or whatever it may be. Are you going to charge a high end at the start for the initial application and then have affordable or cheaper maintenance fees? Or are you going to do it the other way around? In my experience, personally, and don't shoot me down here, but I used to charge quite high in the outset and then have really kind of affordable maintenance prices moving forward, because I wanted to see my clients every 6 weeks. I personally didn't agree with the come back and see me every 12 weeks because of the amount of hair growth in between that amount of time on healthy head, and also the amount of knotting and potential dreadlocking, and you've just got no idea about how, especially a new customer, how they're going to deal with the extensions. So especially at the start, I bring them in at like first time, maybe even at 4 weeks, just to after, right, no, I wouldn't. Let me rewind. Do the installation, call them after 2 days. Hey, how's it going? Then I'd sign it off and have it diarised to give them a call 2 weeks later. Hey, how's it going? Have you lost any? Are you still following the, have you still sleeping on your satin or silk pillowcase? Are you still using the products that I've recommended to you? Have you had any problems? Is there anything that you want to go through? Then I would ring them again, I think about 4 weeks after that, and have 4 week kind of like engagement at intervals. Bring them back in for their first maintenance between 4 and 6 weeks, depending on how the conversation went. And then I'd be able to study the amount of growth from the root downwards and take a picture, and then I'd be able to kind of like analyse their growth pattern, as it were, and then bring them back at 8 weeks, bring them back at 10 weeks, and then if they were able to bring them at 12 weeks, but most of my customers used to sit at 6 to 8 weeks. I hope that made sense, because it just sounded like a ramble in my head, but it does make sense. Are they located in a home? Are they mobile, or are they operating from a business? You guys ain't daft. You know about the costs. As a mobile extensionist, I found that my students could not command the same kind of price points as they could when they were operating from a salon or a little boutique. And here are the reasons why. Mobile extensionists in the UK, it may be different in the States. I need to speak to Mindy and Brigida and see what the vibe is over there. But in the UK, when we talk about mobile hair extensionists, on the whole, they are seen as maybe not as elite as somebody who has their own base. And the reason being is, as a mobile extensionist, what we found, especially pre-COVID a few years ago, is that extensionists would do an installation and then go big bugger off and put shit hair in somebody's head and then never return, not answer the phone, not answer the calls, totally ignore the customer, and then you'd never be able to see the sight or sound of them again. At least with a base, then customers had the confidence to know that if there was a problem, at least I could go back and speak to somebody face to face, as opposed to the stigma that was attached to mobile extensionists. I am not disrespecting mobile extensionists. I started off as mobile, and that's how I learned that I loved the role and wanted to progress within the role. But I made my money when I had my own boutique, and it wasn't nothing big to start with. Yes, I ended on a 16-room boutique, but when I first started, it was just so tiny and so cute, and it did the job, and it was absolutely amazing, and I did actually miss it. But when you talk about somebody's price points who's operating from a boutique or a salon in comparison to mobile, their costs obviously are going to be charged higher. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's because they are offering a better grade of hair. Let's not get that twisted, okay? That's due to the fact of staff, rates, rents, subscriptions, products, music licenses, all the other things that, you know, that you may take for granted that you're running a business. Somebody needs to recoup that cost. So whereby you may look at that and think, oh, well, they're charging like £900, so it must be really, really good hair. No, it's the same £200 hair that everybody else has been buying. It's just that they've got this massive price point that they need to sustain for the building. Now, I'm not saying everybody is like that. I'm just talking about my own experiences here and what I've seen out in the game. And that, you know, when I got my room, when I went from a one little place to a 4 place to a 16 place, costs went up and my customers felt it, you know, but you know, they were loyal and they stick with me, and that's absolutely brilliant. So my closing point here is, if you are concerned about your pricing and you don't know how to price it, go back to basics. How much do you want to be making per hour? Forget what's going on with this extensionist or that extensionist. Stay in your own lane. I want to make £200 an hour by fitting tapings, micro rings, celeb weave, whatever it is. That is my price point, and that's what I'm going to stick with. Whether it's up to you, whether you decide to put a margin on top of the hair, I just used to keep it simple. So for argument's sake, if my full price was £600, I'd take £300 up front and £300 after. I wouldn't expose what was my fitting charge and what was my hair price, because my customers don't need to necessarily know what they're charging for hair. And again, I'm just talking from my own experiences and what my students tend to like the most. So let's go back to basics. Let's look at your worth. Let's make up a proper business plan. Let's get equipped with business acumen before you even think about going out there and launching prices. Yes, it's good to see what your competition are offering, but in the same breath, let's just focus on the kind of the life that you want, the amount of hours you want to be working, the amount of heads that you want to be doing in a day, and hopefully that will help you feed back into, right, okay, with this being said, my price point is going to be X. You don't need to start with an offer, because if you go run your installations at, I don't know, £150, $300, whatever it is, and then you're thinking 6 months later, well, I'm a boss now, I'm quite good now, I want to increase that, you're going to pee off a lot of customers. All right, so start the way you mean to go on. And I'll just tell you this story before I leave. I trained a student back in 2015. She came to me only wanting to do one method, and we ended up doing 3 different techniques. And she's really big in the game now in Yorkshire doing hair extensions. And I remember one time I went to her salon to go train some extra staff, and I was just sat there just watching how she did business. And I remember she was doing a client consultation. It was textbook. It was absolutely brilliant. And she gave the client the batch of hair, and it must have only been about 200 grams tops, platinum blonde. Gave her all the spiel. I won't expose, but anyhow, gave her all the spiel. And she said, yeah, that's £700. And I just sat there and my mouth dropped, and I thought, the audacity. She went, yeah, that'll be £700. 100% Russian Remy human hair extensions taken directly from the donors. And she just sat there in silence, and I'm thinking, what a crock of crap, because you got that from me and I know that ain't no Russian hair. And she just stayed stone cold silent. And the customer was feeling the hair, smelling the hair, holding the hair up to the light, looking at it. I was like, no way. Customer turned around and says, all right then, yeah. What? And I came away and I said to the chick after, like, you robber, how did you get away with that? It's like, I've just sold her a dream. Instead of selling hair, sell the dream. I'm going to give you long, flowing, luscious locks that you can style and manipulate and do whatever you want with. You can wear it curly, you can wear it straight, you can have the hair that you've always desired, the hair that you see on the movies, the hair that you see on celebrities. I can give you that for just £700 and an hour of your time. What? Textbook. People will pay. I know that you may think, oh, but they won't pay. They won't pay because you're basing it on what you would pay. You're basing it on your area. You're basing it on the type of customer that you think that you're going to attract. And if that's the case, then you may need to look at the target market. Who are you looking to attract? I do masterclasses. We've just launched the masterclasses and they're doing really, really well, so that we can really kind of like unpack this, and that I can really delve in and look at ways of supporting you, taking your business from here to here. Bearing in mind, just so you guys know as well, before I even got into the hair extension industry, I was a business coach. I was a business mentor for many years before I even got into this. So it's trusted, tried and tested methods that I'm giving you here. Again, reach out via the link below, and I look forward to connecting with you guys again soon. Peace out.